Welcome to the Survivor's Chair podcast, a podcast where we break down our stories and our trauma, understanding how they have impacted our career and our life. This is a place where we break free from shame, own our truth, and step into our power, one story at a time. Hi, I'm Kim, an adoptee, a former foster youth, hairstylist, salon owner, breast cancer, and complex trauma survivor. So join us, pull up a chair in this no sugarcoating, no holding back, honest conversation about healing and success. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Survivor's Chair podcast. Today, I am sitting down with my friend, Sandra Aussem, and she is the founder of Aussemista Style. Sandra isn't just a personal stylist. She's someone who helps women simplify, refresh, and elevate their wardrobe with intention. But Sandra's story goes far deeper than just style. She is a woman who rebuilt her life through gratitude and forgiveness, someone who has walked through abandonment, loss, and seasons of uncertainty and found her way back to joy. In our conversation today, we talk about love, responsibility, and hope, and how they shaped her and her life, including her journey into becoming her stepdaughter's mom and guardian. Everything Sandra does is rooted in confidence, authenticity, and a reclaimed sense of self-worth. This episode is about identity, self-expression, and the courage it takes to rewrite your story from the inside out. So, Sandra, welcome to the Survivor Chair podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. And also beautiful intro. I already felt like I was going to start crying.
We can cry.
Hear your own life repeated back to you. It seems big.
Yeah.
You know? But I must say that I have felt a connection to you to the first time I heard your story.
Yeah.
There's not many people who, are adopted, wind up in foster care, suffer from trauma, and wind up beautiful on the other side like you.
Thank
and
you.
me.
Thank
you. And yeah.
I only know a little bit about your story, but I remember you coming up to me that day and you said, we're the same, like we have the same story. And it's not until now that I'm like, I need to hear Sandra's story. Everybody knows my story inside and out. Let's start with yours. A little bit background of maybe kind of where it all started for you, right? Where do you start?
I know, right? Oh, but I'll start at, I think, what was the initial trauma. If you want to call it that. I mean, my parents adopted me. I was 6 months old, and I was been told from day one that I was picked out special for them. They loved me. They wanted me. My mom says she knew I was hers because I threw up on her right away. I don't know what that ultimately means. I'm sure there's something behind that.
Yeah.
But my parents then went ahead and adopted my sister and brother. We're all from different families, all adopted. 64, I was adopted in 61. A lot of Catholic charities. We lived in Connecticut, beautiful home. I can remember the weeping willow tree in the backyard. We have pictures of us as a family. It's just picture perfect. But from very early on, I can remember a combination of joy and real sadness and abuse from very early on. Maybe partly my mom was in the Marine Corps and she learned lots of techniques to teach us to be militant, I guess, to cooperate, to follow instructions. And then there was her inability to conceive and her sadness around that, and how that affected her relationship with my father, her husband. And then you just add alcohol. And so it was difficult.
So because we're kind of parallel here, I'm listening and I can hear so much of it in in me also. And I think the interesting thing that you pointed out, and I don't know if you've ever read the book, The Primal Wound. It's a hard read, but even for listeners out there who are listening or adopted, or they're a birth mother or a foster mother, foster care, it's a great read, but it's a tough read. But they talk about how the biological mother, the adopted mother, and the child all experience this loss. The adopted mother, it's the loss of their ability to conceive and have a child. And that is not talked about enough. I just love that you brought that up because no matter what, all that stuff is transferred onto us as
Yeah.
children.
I remember my mom being in bed and unable to get out of bed as a really young child, and that continued on through her
Yeah.
depression, her mental illness. She was not a morning person, couldn't get up in the morning. And my dad was an engineer. He was
Mhm.
smart, somewhat reclusive, withdrawn. He was Scottish, not overly affectionate.
Mhm.
My mom was affectionate, but, you know, sometimes that affection came immediately after maybe a spanking,
Yeah, yeah.
you
The
know?
regret, the remorse. Yeah.
Didn't always feel very good. But we moved from, Connecticut to Newton, Mass, and it was about 6 or 7 because I started 1st grade again, and,
Mm.
and that house in Newton have the main memories, I guess, of,
Mhm.
my child.
So you as a child, what were you like? Did you like me, I just exploded with personality because I wanted to be liked and all of those things. So what was it like for you? Some kids exactly that. Yeah, like, "Hello, notice me."
Well, my name was Sunshine,
Um,
and I was the oldest,
mhm,
and was responsible for my brother and sister. My sister seemed to get the most attention because she was quiet and beautiful and cooperative. I was not
yeah,
cooperative. I mean, I did the right things when asked, but I had always been bold, loud, me, just
yeah.
from the very beginning. Uh, and everybody, remembers me as a very happy kid, you know,
Yep.
very exuberant.
Did you feel like that was a lot to keep up with though, to be the sunshine and the yeah,
I
yeah,
talk about that. Yes, sirree. That's a
yeah.
big responsibility.
There's no room for your sadness or your grief or your fear or your
Anger,
worry or anger. Yeah.
Vic can have that. And to soften, hide from, escape from the things in my home that were happening. I love to read, love to dress up. No
Mhm.
surprise there today. I would retreat into like, real fantasy kind of childlike relief,
Yeah.
I loved stuffed animals. Still to this day, feel like I see a bear sometimes in a thrift store, and I feel like I have to rescue it, you know? Uh,
In a child's mind, that makes so much sense. Like, give me this thing to love and
but
yeah,
I also remember, hiding in the closet in my bedroom because things
mhm.
were scary.
We have the same story. We have the same story. If you've listened to me, I slept in the closet of my siblings and under his bed because I was scared at 5 years old. It's amazing.
Yeah. And we have the same coloring too. Like it's like even that's kind of weird, right?
Let's see, I was born in Norwood, Mass, but you were in Connecticut, so I don't know about you, but always, like, dating, I was like, "Wait a minute, where where
I'm
are you from?" I didn't wanna date any
Vermont.
siblings.
Was born in Vermont, and my stories. Well, I don't want to get out of order.
I think that is just such an interesting piece, especially we're 2 separate people, yet we have such similar stories and similar feelings around it. So I am so okay with you going back to the Vermont if you want to, or
So
you wanna move on too, I'm okay with that.
I'm not really sure where to introduce my birth family. But I tell you, I didn't know them. Uh,
Mhm,
I found them through DNA 8 years ago. And in your intro, you mentioned hope and forgiveness.
mhm,
And really, I feel like I have remained somewhat healthy mentally and emotionally because of those two things. Because I think otherwise, if you heard my story, much like your story, how come I never succumbed to all the trauma, all the
mhm.
things all piled on top of each other? But I wanted to know who my family was. I received like this non identifying information about myself from Catholic Charities.
I did the same thing.
Yeah,
Mm.
told me a little bit. It's fairly accurate. It said I was French, which I am definitely not. And
Yeah.
yeah, my DNA is 50% Swedish. Oh, go figure. Explains so much as I was
Yeah.
growing up. Oh, yeah, you look like you're maybe from Norway.
Yeah.
No, we all know now. My paperwork says I'm French and Irish. We're just going with that. And
Mine's Scotch Irish,
there you go.
but we don't I never did the DNA stuff because 'cause I'm the opposite of you. I did not wanna find my birth family because my life was good, and I didn't want that upsetting the apple cart, but my birth family came looking, and that's a whole 'nother story, which is gonna be in my book. I'm not even gonna share it here. That's a long story, but it set me for a loop, to be honest.
Well, I don't think I wanted to find them because my life was so difficult. Well,
Mhm.
I I think you said it. I wanted a connection. I wanted to feel loved and accepted, maybe because my family broke apart at such a young age and I wound up in foster care that I didn't believe that they really did love me. And maybe this other family really did. So if I found them, I think that's how I found my husband, my first husband.
Okay, so let's back up. Did you end up in foster care
Yeah,
after you were adopted? Ouch. Like, I can feel that, like, holy double rejection.
exactly. And when you're in it, I was 12 years old
Oh,
and my brother and sister, my sister was probably 10 and my brother was 8. And the story is long and complicated.
yeah.
It's not simple. It went on for years, this back and forth with my parents in and out of court. We had to go to Judge Baker Clinic and have these tests done to find out what kind of kids we were, what was the abuse at home. Yeah.
Mm.
And
So did the state take you away? Yeah, yeah.
they took us away because my parents, they neither one of them could care for us because of their anger and hatred, I think, towards each other. And
Yeah.
on top of that, my mom was the active alcoholic and she was physically abusive and maybe even more so emotionally and mentally abusive.
Yeah.
Like real humiliation kind
Mhm.
of tactics that just suck all the self-worth out of you.
Yep, yep.
And so by that age, 12, 13, I was no longer uh, playing make believe and dressing up. I still read a lot, but I was then using other substances then,
Mhm,
alcohol, marijuana, boys, to
mhm.
just fill that void. Somebody make me feel whole. Couldn't keep a hold of my brother and sister and keep them together. Like that was my job,
Ugh,
was to try to keep everybody together. And we ran away from home basically one day. I went to my guidance counselor. There were a couple instrumental people, and
thank God for those people.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I went to her and I just said, "Well, it is time now." Like we had sort of evaded um, the state in taking us out of the home for a while because I live in Newton.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm living at this point in time. We own two houses, but I'm living in the playroom with my brother and sister and mother eating cheese sandwiches. Hello, cheese sandwiches
Mhm.
And we're renting out our house to a person who is in my class at school. You
Oh.
know, we're on welfare. We're drinking Sanilac. I hate milk to this very day. Uh,
Mhm.
right. And it was so humiliating. So I used all kinds of external things to try to feel better or
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
And you can imagine I didn't do well at school because I was still trying to feel someone to care.
Yeah, and you just can't, like, you don't have the capacity to do school. I mean, I don't even know how I graduated. I don't remember ever doing homework.
In Newton North, there are people, the foster homes I lived in, I was so fortunate, really fortunate with the people that stepped up to the plate. But my uh, need to self-destruct was
Yeah.
far greater than um, what these people could do for me
Yeah.
externally. Society.
I think the self-destruct is really the harsh word for us. I think you're just looking for some way to not feel what you're feeling and feel something good. I mean, I know at that age for myself, I didn't even know feeling good existed in my world, even though I was also the happy-go-lucky, fun class clown at school. But
Correct.
that when you get to the under layers of that, you're so desperate
Yes.
to mask the yucky stuff and try to hold on to some good. The fact that you're living in a room, and for the listeners who don't know, who are from a different area, Newton, Massachusetts is a very affluent town. And I also moved from the projects to an affluent town because my aunt had an apartment to get us out of the projects. When you're there and everybody around you is doing what you think well, right? And you're in a room with your cheese sandwich and your powdered milk, and your house is being rented by a schoolmate. I just can't even imagine what that was like for you to go to school every day. How do you do schoolwork? How do you get you can't. You can't.
I do, want to counter that with, up until that age, 12, even in the midst of my mom's disease and dysfunction, illness, there was fun, there was family. My cousins lived one town over in Waltham. My mom was always about bringing everybody together and creating community and with
Yeah.
family and how special that was. She played the piano. She played every musical instrument. She could play by ear. She could also read music. I grew up singing musicals and wanting to be a movie star.
Yeah.
And
I love it.
and I played the violin and I took dance lessons and I was a baton twirler and we went to the theater and saw beautiful things. We had beautiful clothes. I mean, our
Yeah.
house was beautiful. We had so much of that middle class
Mhm.
upbringing and all the manners and the skills to
Yeah.
be accomplished. And then to wind up with like no real guidance or like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Mm,
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, have like, I wanted to be a marine biologist, but like Jack Cousteau,
Mm.
but by that point, like smoking marijuana and biology, chemistry, and marijuana, that don't really go together. And I couldn't keep up with school because it was better to hang around with people and get that much needed attention. I would joke my later mid-20s. I would joke about I was the girl that your mother warned you about. And like I thought that was like a badge of honor. Like
Mhm.
I'm so good, I'm bad. I was trying to fill myself up with a man at that point to try to make me be better, feel better, look better. Maybe if I married well or but that didn't happen because, I was uh denigrating.
It can't. You just, you attract, like, where you are in life too, you know? So, we could probably talk about that.
Yeah, that's a
We
whole
could we could probably talk about that part for hours. Alright, so let's jump ahead unless there's more that you wanna talk
not
about that.
mm-mm.
Um, so my question was, when did your spark diminish? Now we've established that, right? Do you recall, like, a kind of a light bulb moment when you were like, "Oh my gosh, like, I deserve so much more than this?" And there's probably, um there's probably so much more to that as I'm asking that, more to the story than when you had your light bulb moment, you know?
I would say, how many light bulb moments have you had?
Oof.
Because
Yeah.
right? Because I
Yeah.
think I've grown, matured, developed, got healthy. Um, those light bulb moments are different, you know,
Yeah.
and are better bulbs maybe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think, I got married at 18 and had my son at 19. I married a guy. He was 7 years older than me. So he was like, I was 17, I think, when I met him.
Yeah.
And he worked at the gas station and everybody wanted to wait on him. He was so cute. And we ended up running into each other and I ended up leaving with him. And that's the end of the story. Um, and his family was uh, the family I wanted, right?
Mhm.
He was, one of four, two parents. It was just beautiful family. They immediately scooped me up and loved me, and he loved me, and we got married and had a baby. And so that was a light bulb. Someone
Mhm.
loved me and wanted me, and I was going to have a baby, and I was going to do all the right things
Mhm.
even though I started out like at 18. Um, and then of course, if you haven't treated your illness yet, right, that catches up with you. Uh,
Mhm.
so the next light bulb moment was, oh my God, I'm going to be like my mother. I'm going to be abusive. I don't know how to handle my 2-year-old son when he cries. I don't know what to do. I only saw yelling and abuse. This little child certainly doesn't deserve that. The other part of me is like, why am I trapped at home with a 2-year-old again? Very
Mhm.
self-centered. And I ended up choosing to follow alcohol and the path of drugs and alcohol for a period of time that I decided to give my son up to my husband at the time. He wasn't necessarily any more sober,
Mhm.
but his parents lived down the street and were uh, getting separated, and he was going to move in with them. And that would be a better care for my son. And I felt like then I could go on and do whatever I wanted to do was the other
Mm.
selfish part of that. Right?
Yeah, you wouldn't be tied down anymore, like, that's the and so
So
what was that
of
like
course,
for you after?
now I've repeated the pattern now.
Which
Of
is
abandonment.
what we do, you know? You don't know until you know. That's yeah.
So
What was that like for you after that? After you, gave your son to your husband?
I
After
spent
that, so
5 years drinking and partying, working as a waitress and a bartender, and just like debauchery. Um,
yeah.
it was the early 80s, and it was, oh my God. I mean, I was a disco queen, okay? I
Mhm.
loved to dance. I loved to party. I was still the life of the party.
Yeah.
You know, by the time I was 22, I guess, when I left, and I was 27 when I got sober. And, I was not a responsible parent. I showed up when I could, uh,
Mhm.
didn't show up when I was supposed to. Uh, I regret a lot of that. I've healed from that. made amends. I've done all the things that allow me to move forward without shame and remorse
Mhm.
that period of time,
Yeah.
but with so much shame and remorse and, repeated humiliation. But, once I got sober, um, I went into a halfway house. I stepped up to the plate and my life began to change. And that was a critical step in becoming who I am today.
And it's not easy getting sober at 27. It's a hard
Yeah.
it's a hard time just to give up the the dancing and the drinking.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun anymore. I lost a family, a child, a future education, my morals, all of it. You just throw it all away. And when I got to that point, I was ready to change my life. I stopped drinking. I've never done a drug or had a drink since then. It's
Yeah.
30 years. For me, that's just was what had to be done to move
Yeah.
forward. And then, that's when therapy started too, real therapy, the real work that has to happen. Thankfully, my in-laws did not talk badly about me, which
Mm.
was helpful in the healing of the relationship with my son. I started, you know, right away with trying to repair that relationship and making amends to people and becoming the parent I was supposed to be. I remember Michael went to a parochial school because that just made sense.
Mhm.
And going to like the first school play. He was 7, and I haven't been anywhere regularly. And I just show up on the scene, as the parent. That took so much gumption,
Mm.
courage, swallowing whatever it was. And my friend said, "You just show up, you be the parent, you do the things. You can't listen to that noise,
Mm.
bring the sliced oranges to football practice." I just wanted to be a parent, and I did the things that earned me that
Mm.
respect and became a good parent.
So, um, how did your son reciprocate your effort to being a parent?
Was seemed so natural. I don't I mean, I wasn't completely absent those 5 years, but, he was so incredibly lovable, and,
Mm.
I never felt like, he held it against me, I guess you might say.
Mhm.
And we've had many a talk since that time, and, he would come every other weekend and once during the week and stay overnight. And, I'd go to all of his hockey games and football and take him from one thing to the other and show up. And his father and I wanted to be good co parents. I was allowed to be a good co parent, I guess. I earned
Mhm.
that. We did things as a family, my family and his family. And from that day that I got sober, from that time on, I was welcomed back into their family. a- As
Amazing.
very, very fortunate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some people
Could
are so special, they just
could
really are.
very could have gone very bad.
Yeah. So now your your life is on an upswing
Oh my God. My
and
son, 44. I married again. I have 6 grandchildren. My husband passed away, but that's part of the story.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that is how
but
you became your stepdaughter's
yeah,
guardian?
that's so I get sober, I grow up, I do all the things you're supposed to do. It's
Mhm.
2000. My son's getting ready to go to college, and I got an opportunity to move to Chicago to take an outside sales position. Um, I mean, I can afford to buy things and take care of myself. Um, so Michael's going to go off to college, and then I get this call, and he says, "Mom, I want to play junior."
He
And
wants
I
to what?
play junior hockey.
Oh.
And I say, "You've been talking to your dad again. You're going to college." And he says, "Mom, you have to trust me." Oh my God, you're 18. I can't trust you. I mean, trust what? I need to do this. If I don't do this now, I might never have an opportunity. So I remember sleeping on that thought and calling him back and saying, "Yep, you're absolutely right. Let's make this happen." So I ended up traveling for about 6 months, um, back and forth to Chicago so that Michael still had um, a home and a parent and someone helping him before he got himself settled. And then I moved to Chicago.
What a different insight to him as an 18-year-old compared to you as an 18-year-old, right? Was that hard when you're like, "No, you gotta go to college and do the right thing because if you don't, you could da 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 da," even though you know it's not possible?
I thought, I didn't go to college. It's so hard. You should go, you know?
Yeah,
And he did go to college. I mean, he played junior hockey for 2 years and then he went to Curry. And then he realized this wasn't going to be his career as a hockey player, you know?
yeah.
Yep. And he was going to be an accountant. And he just did not like being trapped behind a desk. I totally get that. And he said, "Mom, I'm going to quit college." I go, "Oh, no, 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 no. Now we're at another impasse, right? That's
Yeah.
not happening." And he goes, "I just don't like it." I go, "Well, you need to have something else. Can't just quit. What are you going to do?" And Roger LeBlanc was a groomsman in my wedding in 1980, and he was an electrician. And Mike's dad, and they connected them, and Mike started as an apprentice. And however many years later, Michael he's a master electrician, owns his own company. you know
Love that story.
yep. It's the
As
trust, right? It's letting them develop,
Yeah,
letting
yeah,
go, being there but letting go.
yeah. So tell me, when did it what happened when you had to step in for your, stepdaughter? You moved
So
to Chicago? Did you meet somebody there? Is that
another Mike. Yeah, he actually was in AA, and I was there. Didn't really know anybody. I moved there in May. At the end of that period of time, we Michael and I went on a trip to Europe. I took him for his high school graduation. Went to Paris, the south of France, and Italy. It was wonderful. I can remember towards the end of the trip, he's like, "Mom, I really want to go home. The Bruins are in the playoffs." Oh my God. Do you not know where we are? I
No.
mean, hey,
Yeah,
uh,
that's
but
great.
he talks about that trip now, with great memories and fondness. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get out to Chicago. It's the middle of the summer now, and I'm pretty adapted. You get that way when you have to take care of yourself. Been
Mhm.
on my own now, right, for however many 20 years, whatever, 11 years, all by myself. And I need someone to set up this grill. And my girlfriend says, "Well, I know a guy. He'd love a meal. Um, he'll set your grill up." So he comes over, and the way the story goes is we were out on the porch after dinner, sitting there talking, and I can remember like this hot flush that came over my whole self, and I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, I like him."
Mm.
And
Mhm.
that was kind of the end of that. And we dated for, I don't know, close to 2 years, got engaged, bought a home, and planning a big wedding back here in Massachusetts. And all of a sudden, his ex-wife says that his daughter Emily is really acting up and causing a lot of trouble at home. So there was MJ, Emily, Lauren, and then she remarried and had two twin boys that were now a year old, both with the special needs. And
Mm,
what I didn't mention it is that Emily is special needs.
mm.
So she was developmentally delayed. She was 12 years old, 12 years old.
Yeah, yeah, I'm following for sure.
And her mom says, you know, I think maybe she should be institutionalized. She's being threatening with the other babies. She's, cutting up the bedspread, writing on the walls. She's been coming to see us every other weekend. And, it's different when you're the play mom, right? You
Mhm.
know, and they were never supposed to come and live with us. We carpeted the house white. We were just going to be two six-figure income earners, just
Yeah,
having fun with our new house, gardening and traveling and
life.
oh what. And then Mike says, "Well, she can come and live with us." And oh no, what? What are you talking about? Like, wait a minute. I don't know how to help a special needs girl. She's 12. She's really more like 8 or 5. She was like a first grade, not even at that point in time. And I looked at this diamond ring on my finger. And like I took this ring with the intent of forever, marriage and all that goes along with it, sickness and health. I guess that means kids too, and I had wanted to have more children, but I was 40 now. And, you have to be careful what you ask for because I got children. They just weren't how I expected them to be,
Mhm.
So we postponed the wedding. Emily came to live with us. And a year later, her brother, who's just an Irish twin, really came to live with us too. And as it turned out, one of Mike's friends from where he grew up was the director for special ed in the town that we had bought our house in.
Oh,
No coincidences.
no coincidences. No. Mm-mm.
And she comes to us in June. I had this big job, cover, Illinois to Colorado, down to Texas, and travel a lot. And in April, I got laid off from my job. And Emily comes to live with us in June. And I
Mhm.
have this whole time frame to get to know her better and to find a way to help her into the new school system, et cetera, et cetera. And, it's just like the pieces fell into place like that. And,
Mhm.
I got another job a few years into this after MJ has come to live with us too. Mike has an opportunity to buy the goodwill of his boss's construction company. It's a structural steel company. And I'm like, well, we're not putting all the eggs in one basket without me coming along. You guys, I'm important and I
Yeah.
know things, and you're just an iron worker,
Yeah, yeah.
run a business. And we opened up Awesome Iron in 2006.
Oh,
And it was amazing. I can't believe the things that I did. Together, we took a $1 million company and grew it to 5 million.
oh
We
yeah.
presented to a bank to get loans. Built, board of directors. Had like up to 50 employees at different periods of time when we were busy. It was amazing. And then 2008 happened, and we were able to hang on till 2011. And then we had to file bankruptcy. We just there
Oh,
was work but no cash flow, and we couldn't hold on. For Mike, this was a legacy he was going to leave to his family. And he ended up drinking, and for the next 2 years he was in and out of rehab, jail, treatment. and he had several suicide attempts. I couldn't save him, and the last suicide attempt, he was successful. And
Oh.
that was 2 days before our wedding anniversary. We had married by that time, and it was devastating. When you go into that survivor mode that you've known your whole life
Mhm.
and do what's got to be done,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
that's just what you do. And was fully equipped at that. About a year into the situation, uh, I took custody of Emily. So Mike was her guardian, but I took guardianship of her because at that point Mike wasn't making good decisions. And if something were to happen, I needed to be able to make those decisions.
Mm.
There was a period of 9 months of sobriety. It was my 50th birthday. I can remember how elated and happy and in love I felt at that very moment that
Mhm.
we'd been able to put that amount of time together. And his mom passed away. My birthday's November. She passed in December, and just went on another binge, and that was the lead up to the end. It was terrible for those children. There were many things that happened, and we had so much fun and so
Mhm.
many times. And Emily went from, a 12-year-old to, now she's 22, I think, around. And she grew so much. I can remember the day that she was sitting on the stairs and she said, "Am I the reason why my mom doesn't want me?"
Oh.
And there it was.
Mhm. So you were able to kind of console her or help her in ways that you needed as a child, which talk about full circle moment.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
I had healed my relationship with my son, but I never was a parent full time. Now
Yeah.
we have these children that come at ages 12 and 13. I get to parent them and help Emily to heal.
Mhm.
We had to basically force her mom to be a participant in Emily's life. That was very hard. But that abandonment, that relationship, that a relationship with my mother, she came back into the picture after foster care,
Mhm.
but the ability to help Emily heal herself was another key to healing of abandonment of my son and my mom's abandonment of me.
Yeah.
And and then when Mike passed away, there was this light bulb moment.
Mhm.
Still something I can feel where I was like, "Oh my god, all this time I met Mike to be Emily's mom."
Mhm.
It was ridiculous. It was like all about her.
Right.
It never was about him, even as special or as loving as our relationship was. Maybe it was just all about healing to be a mom, me to be a mom, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I do not want to stay in Chicago any longer. I tried to save the house. If I could have saved the house, if they would have let me save the house, I would have stayed there.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was part of the problem. Interest rate was like freaking 3. Ours was 7, and
Mhm.
wouldn't let us refinance the house, which would have given us so much more cash flow and probably been able to sustain, be back into the working community, have jobs, and sustain keeping the home. That they, they didn't do that. And
Mhm.
so MJ had an apartment with his friends. Emily, her name got picked in a lottery to be fully funded by the state of Illinois. That was unheard of. Mike had passed away, and we helped her together to move into her room and be on her own. She did not want to stay in Illinois. She wanted to come to Boston with me. So I kind of dragged that out for about a year and a half. I moved back to Boston in November of 2013. Mike passed in June of 2013. And she came in June of 2015. And I don't even know how I really got here, by the way. So This relationship with my mom is turmoil. No, she is at my first wedding. Oh, she does come to my second wedding. Always played the victim uh,
Mhm.
to our relationship. There was a lot of healing. I drew a line in the sand. I can remember being about 3 years sober and saying, I am not going to talk about 1977 anymore.
Mm.
I don't live in that. You live in that. If that's all you got to talk about, we can't talk. We separated from my mom and my dad. I didn't see my dad for 40 years. My sister and I, we end up in a home together, but we end up separated. And then my brother, he wound up in a separate foster home. And after a year, my dad showed up, picked him up, and took him to Rhode Island, where my dad lived. And we didn't see my brother again till he was in his early 20s.
Wow.
And back then, the states didn't cooperate with each other, and we didn't know where he was, and you didn't have the internet. I was a kid. How was I going to find my father and my brother? And yeah, so it was, and my vision of, my brother going with my dad was him driving up in his Karma gear with the roof down, picking him up on the last day of school and whisking him off to Newport, Rhode Island, where they lived in a big home, where they did,
Mm.
and, living a happy life, you know, and that isn't what happened to him, which I find out many years later.
Mm.
Very traumatic. And then I, finally reconnect with my dad after 40 years. My mom is still alive. This is in 2013. And my brother's communicating with my dad. And I'm like, well, why aren't I talking to dad? I want to talk to dad. My brother wanted to impress my father so much, like
Mhm.
be that guy. And anyway, so I end up reconnecting with my father, and he begs me not to tell my mother that I know that that I'm talking to him.
Mhm.
It's only on the phone, and I'm packing up and I'm coming to Boston. He lived in uh, Asheville, North Carolina now. Spent 30 years in Newport, and then he and his wife retired. My dad remarried. My stepsister was the same age I was when I went into foster care, and she went to live with my dad. She had my life. I didn't meet her until my dad died
Yeah. Wow.
years ago. Anyway, say, I'm going to come to Asheville. And he goes, I would like to see you. And he says, well, you know that Asheville isn't on the way to Boston. I'm like, oh my God, that means he doesn't want me.
Mhm.
I say, now I'm brave. I'm really brave. I'm how old? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm this little again. And I
Yeah.
say, oh, do you not want me to come? And he said, no. He was just saying,
Yeah.
not on the way. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, it's on the way. I'm coming, you
Yeah.
know? And my car's packed up with all the necessities, my two black labs and my plants. And I drive there, and I'm wearing like this beautiful cream colored and brown cashmere sweater and these gorgeous cream colored pants. I was gonna make the impression. And I get to the door, and he answers the door. And except for being a little hunched over, he was 6'2", 3'4" as a kid.
Yeah.
And he looked exactly the same.
So was this after your husband had passed away?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Yep. Like the intro to the conversation and my dad was happening during the last part of Mike's mental illness. He had to die.
Yeah.
That the
Yeah, it
power of how the healing happens is just crazy.
it's just
My
fascinating.
my dad, I felt so bad. He was felt so guilty. I finally heard my dad's story.
What a gift.
He loved me. He loved us.
Yeah.
And he didn't know why I could love him, forgave you so long ago.
Yeah. Did he have a lot of the same issues coming into marriage and and parenthood that you felt were the same? Because of his childhood, did he struggle with marriage, parenthood?
Honestly, I don't know enough really about,
Yeah.
I know some. He grew up in a very strict household. He was very educated. He was so happy with his second marriage, he said.
Mm.
He was is the happiest 32 years of his life. But let me tell you something. I met that woman. She was just like my mom, but different.
In what ways? Like,
Abusive, controlling. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Well, I found my dad and went to his door one day as a young adult. And after I had had my baby and went to his house and knocked on the door, and she answered. And he was standing behind her. He wouldn't come to the door. Now I have a relationship with my stepsister, and she told me the stories about her mom. And so there was a lot of similarities in the
So she
dynamic,
really didn't get the life that you didn't get. She continued on with the life that you had.
I guess. I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know. But
Yeah.
then there's my biological sister, who's 2 years older than me, who has a family, who stays with our mom,
Wow.
and I didn't get that. And I think telling my story to my biological family,
Mhm.
well, that was very hard
Yeah,
because this isn't the life they wanted for me. That isn't what they thought would happen.
of course, and we were in that, like, baby scoop era that they talk about where there's no records, there's no
Correct. I couldn't find them
nothing.
that way.
Yeah.
And they put my mom's husband's last name on there that I didn't know at all.
Mm, wow.
So the only birth certificate I had at the time was the one that was from the adoption.
Yeah. Yeah, same,
But
same.
between my dad in 2013 and my mom's death in 2015, and then the DNA test I did,
Mhm.
I found the clues. For me, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
My sister and I are full sisters. We have the same mom and dad.
Yeah. Yeah,
They're
that's
They had a love affair, my mom and dad. My mom wasn't married, my dad was married. I have 3 half sisters on my dad's side, haven't met any of them, they don't wanna meet us, but
yeah.
my sister who grew up in Vermont and lived in Vermont, she's intersected in our father's lives.
Mhm.
She has intersected with that family in different ways without knowing.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So, was she adopted also, or they kept her? Yeah, which is always another twist too. Yeah.
Well, my mom, interesting, right? My mom gets pregnant in high school, same age as me, marries at my same age, and has a baby at the same age as I do. Now that's freaking DNA? I don't know. What the heck is that?
I you know, I'll share part of my story. When I got my non-identifying information, I found out that my biological mother went to hairdressing school, never finished, but she went. I was well into hairdressing already, well into it. Already had graduated, was working, and there's too much that makes you go, huh? What? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And it's interesting. You say 12, right? So she went into her first group home when she was 12. I don't really know the whole history, whatever, but I know some of it. But I was 11, 12 years old when I started doing drugs. And there's something about that coming of age, I think, that maybe your brain is developing, whatever's happening, but it seems to be a pivotal age for some reason.
yeah,
Crazy. I mean, the adoption stuff, and the stories, gosh, none of us are that different that have gone through anything like that in our life. We have the same kind of feelings. I always felt like, and I'm going to go back to the beginning when you said that you felt connected to me. I've always felt this connection with anybody adopted,
yep,
and you don't have to say anything. All you have to say to me is I'm adopted, and I would be like, like I just get it. It's like a different language that we have. When you mention your husband's suicide, that is another layer of questions and trying to sort it out and anger and, all of the things. Big step in my world was forgiving my biological mother for her and understanding that when you're in a sane mind and body, you don't do the things that you do to children. So that was a big part of me, but that came much later in life for me. So for you, was it like a whole
I
process or
I want to say that somewhere inside, I think I've just always been kind and loving and caring and always seeing the best of people
Mhm,
and at their worst,
mhm, yep,
being being the person that stood by and tried to cheer you on even in
yeah,
the difficult times. And then there are times when it's just like, I'm sorry, but that's it. You crossed the line. That's only happened a few times to me or me to someone else. Uh, but I mean, my mom passed away in 2015. And at that point,
biological or adopted?
adopted mom. My
Yeah.
biological parents both passed on and didn't meet either. But my mother, she was basically on her deathbed, in a care facility in 2015. We had all those big snowstorms. I
Oh,
hadn't really had much communication with her since probably 2007. She got, she said that I hadn't made amends to her in a satisfactory way. I wrote back and I said that I had made amends and she had not. And I mean, you cut my Winnie the Pooh in half. I mean, you never apologize for some of the absolutely unheard of imaginary things that you did to me as a child.
mhm,
And, so she stopped talking to me. At one point, she was sober. I don't know what happened after that. She refused every phone call. I sent gifts. I sent cards. When I stepped back from that, or probably took a year, I said, "What would have been so hard for me to say those amends again? She's your mom. She's older. She's not a well person. Maybe she just needed to hear them again.
mhm.
Couldn't I have done that again?" That really
Yeah,
felt bad. That why was I so angry that I couldn't do it again? And I think that's what it is. I was still angry. I was angry because she didn't own her part and she
mhm,
wanted me to say my part again. And you know, don't want resentment. You don't want to hang on to those things. But at that moment, the way that I responded was definitely in that anger and hurt that how could you be asking me to do that again? Now she's on her deathbed. It's 2015. Mike has passed on. Sadly, my brother also committed suicide. My younger brother committed suicide a year after Mike.
oh my gosh.
So I had to tell both of my adoptive parents that my brother committed suicide.
Ugh,
My nephew committed suicide a couple years before Mike passed away, and my brother handled all of that and never came back from that. Really,
and
my
that was his son that committed suicide?
his stepson that he raised since he was two. Yeah,
His
he
son. Yeah.
exactly. So my brother was in the Marine Corps. That's how he escaped my father's home. Why went into the Marine Corps. And then Timmy went into the Marine Corps as a young adult right out of high school and had been back. He couldn't hang on long enough for the medication to work. And right before Mother's Day, he took his life that year. My uh, nieces are twins. They were 18, just graduated high school. It was awful. My brother really never recuperated from that and series of events. He ends up taking his life a year after my husband. And now it's 2015. I go drive up to my mom's because they think she's, dying. I go up there and I go into the room and she's asleep. And she's starting to wake up and there's water. She's like saying she needs water. So I get the cup and I hold the straw to her mouth. She's just a little shell of herself. And as she's coming to, she realizes it's me. And she grabs the cup away from me. And she starts saying how I ruined her life. It was all my fault that at 12 years old, I told everybody that she was an abusive alcoholic mom. And I, I, and she went on enough so that a nurse came in the room and said, "You don't have to stay here like this." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right, I do." And I started to get up, and my mom says, I'm not done with her yet." Yeah.
So
So
the abuse stayed up until the very end.
yeah. So I leave the room, and the priest comes in and is going to give her her last rites. So I stand outside the door while he does that, and then that's where I think the grace of God, by faith in a higher power, that
Yeah.
overwhelming forgiveness tool that's in my box of
Yeah.
hope.
Yep.
Um, I go back in and I say, Mom, I know that you tried to do everything you could for us kids. You really tried to save us. I know that you loved us, and everything that you did, you were doing because you were trying to save us. And for some unknown reason, I started singing, "You Are My Sunshine," which is what she sang to me. And as I start singing, she reaches her hand out and holds my hand, and you can see her shoulders. You can see it all.
Mhm.
And she sings with me.
Oh my god.
And it just like this immediate reconciliation happens in that very brief time. And she sings the paragraph that I never remember. And she says, "I love you." And I say the same thing. And then she goes, "Will you come back?" And I said, "Of course I'll come back. The weather's really bad, but I'll come back." And um, I got couldn't get back the next day. I'm at an AA meeting and I get a call and they're like, "You have to come now." And I go with my dogs and we get there and she's already passed on. And my dog, who's my 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 everything,
Mhm.
um, got on the bed with her and lied on her right then. And I spent a couple hours there. And anyway, you know what? I do have to say something that I haven't said out loud, and someone just asked me the other day about this. My mom's ashes are still at the funeral since 2015.
Mhm. And is that like you don't know what to do with them or
Given me specific directive, I know what I'm supposed to do with them, but I got a lot of ashes in my house. And in between that, I found my family, and there's another layer of work that has to be done to be able to bury her.
yeah,
I just am not ready.
and that's okay. I mean, I probably got goosebumps 100 times while you were telling that story, and
Just the most, I mean, among many other things, that have happened, but the things that are just they happen, like come like this,
yeah.
it's one
I
of the
mean, that was the amends.
blue out of body experience,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
and I can remember sitting with my dad and just saying to him, I never told him about that, but I can remember him just saying, "How can you forgive me? Why do you forgive me?" And just holding his hand and saying, I love you. I didn't
Yeah.
ever stop loving you. You guys were sick. I know
Mhm.
I said you were sick, but I said you
Yeah.
guys didn't know better. It was awful. They all were caught in their web of pain,
Mhm.
ever
Yeah.
that was. And maybe because he was out of the picture and I had an image of what my dad was and what I wanted him to be, and I kept it pristine in that way, that part of that made it like that, even though should have been accountable in my little book of why did he let me stay in that abusive home with that mother that was hurting us.
Right.
Why did
Right.
he disappear like that? Why did he do that? But I didn't want that tainted. I logically, knew, but, I don't know.
But that's part of your hope, right?
That's
That
not my love for
yeah.
words or whatever.
That to me, that was such a beautiful story because the amends I feel like both of you were looking for was the love of each other, and you were able to give that to each other at the end, and it's so beautiful.
When you physically can feel something that touches your whole everything,
Yeah.
like the time with Emily's on the stairs, talking about why your mother give her away,
Mhm.
or sitting on the couch with all women that love me so much, right? Mike had just died and saying, "Oh my God, this has all been about my healing journey and helping others." Just you know, so that's part of my journey, right?
Mhm.
That I've never been enough. And I've never been enough, but I'm too much.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so the healing inside has always been about my self-worth and always questioning whether I am worthy enough maybe
Mhm.
to receive love back, or do you see me as a loving person, generous loving person, to want anything in return? But I think that that's like when I found the opportunity to help women feel good about themselves is just another gift that I want to give to people, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it makes so much sense. I was looking over your website, and, just how you present it and how it does, it starts from the inside out. And we've all been through periods of, you're stuck in the sweatpants, maybe you haven't showered for a couple days, brushing your teeth is hard.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, for and to have somebody that you can go to that understands all of those things and can help you get out of that. And so let's talk about like what you do because it's very intentional what you do in helping women, and I love that. And I am just going to say, from a person sitting across from you who's never felt worthy and has always felt like they were too much and
Oh
too
my God,
loud and too all the other things, you are not those things. You are so worthy of everything. And it's so much easier for us to do for other people what we can't do for ourselves.
yeah, I wish someone would come clean my room.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you do now. I mean, and I'm just gonna say, anytime I see you at an event, we met at the Women's Business League, which we love, and anytime I've seen you at an event, first off, you're impeccable with your style, but you are that ray of sunshine. You are that sunflower. You light up a room when you're there.
No coincidence that 14 years ago, right before Mike died, I didn't really have a job. We were trying to recover from the bankruptcy. I went to a cabbie show. This is where you're at home and they bring the clothes in, and a woman shows you how to wear all these beautiful clothes, and you try them on, and it's like, whoa, I've never felt this good before in my life. And everything matches and it's put together. And the lady says, "You'd be so good at this." And I'm like, "I'm so busy. My life, not possible, you know?" And, Mike is sick and the bankruptcy, we can't save the house. I'm like, I am not, no, thank you. I know, but I'll buy these clothes because they make me feel amazing. And what ended up happening was within about 6 months, Mike and I sat down with the woman and they talked about the business and how you could have it as a part-time business and help other women, teach them how to get dressed. And I just felt called to that. And it was January 2012. And so I had about a year and a half into the business part-time, along with a full-time bookkeeping job. Our training is always in January and July for the next season. So Mike passed away June 28th. And in 2.5 weeks from then, I went to Portland, Oregon, for cabin training. And those women carried me. Besides the women group I had at my home, one woman was actually a widow and shared her experience with me, and they cared for me. And it emphasized that what I was doing for others, what they were doing for me, I was not just getting people dressed, you know? And I've been doing that now for part-time for 14 years. And almost a year ago, I came up with this idea that people keep buying my clothes, 14 years, twice a year. They don't just buy one thing either when they're what are they doing with all these things? I know what my closet looks like, and you're not just shopping with me, okay? You're going to TJ Maxx and Marshalls and consignment shopping and over to Nordstrom's, all the things, okay? So I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to do some closet editing. So I went to my friends and I said, I have this idea. I want to do this. What do you think about that? And they're like, sure, I'll let you come in my closet and help me. And it was magical. You take everything out of the closet and you put it on the bed and you go through every single piece of clothing. And you get a lot done in that first 3 hours, that first closet edit. It's fun. It's hard work. It's illuminating. It's uplifting. It gets the monkey off your back because I'm taking all that stuff that doesn't fit and I'm either putting it on Poshmark and trying to get you some money back, or I'm donating it for you. And I'm leaving you with the best of what you already own in your closet.
Amazing.
Spent the money on this. This is your stuff. You're only wearing 20% of those items 80% of the time. And all that other stuff is just sitting there. And I'm going to show you how to wear them. And I take pictures of you in the outfits. I flat lay and take pictures of them so you know what goes together. We talk about shoes and purses and jewelry and scarves and how to incorporate those things. And just so you can go to your closet and feel like I know what I'm doing and I know how I feel. When you feel good in an outfit, it's so empowering. Not only do you look good and feel good, but you're comfortable, and sweatpants are not pants. Leggings are not pants, people. Anyway. But, so I started that, and then I came up with the name Aussemista Style because last name is Aussem, fashionista, Aussemista was just like so easy. And I got a website and, it's word of mouth, it's building, I still style women with cabbie. So if when I come to your house, you need a few pieces, cabbie might be the filler. Need some essential pieces. I have some links I can send of you of a good white top or great black pant, a wonderful blazer. I use lots of different, companies for that. And I'll take you shopping. We can go out shopping together. And some people don't like to do the shopping part. They let me do for them. But some people love the experience of going with me and seeing how the magic happens. It's really magic. And I just feel it and see it. I can't always tell you why. I didn't have like this training for all this, like as
Mhm.
some of my other peers who are fabulous, and, trying to, again, making sure that I am worthy,
Mhm.
confident in what I'm delivering to you. So you feel like that because I want to feel like that. Right.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But that's what sets you apart, when you say the people who have the training, they don't have the life experience, some of them, of not feeling worthy and the power of looking good or having the clothes that you need or just that they don't understand the worthiness that that brings or the empowerment that that brings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say from a personal experience, I'm 57, and when you get into this zone of age, it's like you don't wanna be 20, but you don't wanna be 120 either, and I know I can be drawn to the clothes that I wore when I'm 20 or 30, and I have been out shopping with my partner, Dave, and I'm like, "What do you think about this? What do you think about this?" And he's gone, I no, maybe not, and then I look at him, I'm like, "Because it's for 20, like, get out of the tween department."
I know. But that's something else I've discovered. I belong to a number of women's groups. This particular group of women, Fab Fierce females, we dress up. Okay.
Mhm,
And I have found I don't have to be dressed up like this. And I
mhm.
can have a little cleavage and some exposure and be sexy and confident and curvy and
Yeah.
not be dressed like 20, but still be like have a
Mm.
sex appeal, right? Which is fun. And then the other times I just want to be put together. You know what I mean? I want my personality to shine through in what I wear.
It always does. It always does when I
Yeah.
see you. I'm always like, "God, where did she get that? That looks
Oh my
fat."
God. Okay, listen, consignment shopping. Let's do it.
I know, right? I'm gonna have to call you afterwards. I'm gonna wrap this up with
Yeah.
one question. So what would you say to that woman who has maybe been through a lot in their life and they're standing in front of their closet, they're lost in everything, in their identity, more than their clothes. And what is just one simple thing that they can do to feel more confident in their day-to-day life? If they're at ground zero, like where do they start? They're not ready to call you. They're not ready to, what is something that maybe helped you take that first step?
I have it right here. You know what it is? Get a picture of yourself as a young girl and put it where you get ready in the morning. I thought it was the dumbest exercise this therapist told
Mhm.
me to do, but you have to love who you are. You have to stop beating yourself up of the things that you think you should be or you're not or you want to be. No, we're living right now in this moment today, and you're absolutely beautiful just the way you are, and tell that little person that. Tell that
Mm,
person that. I couldn't play and have fun for a long time. Very rigid, very controlling. It's taken a long time for, to heal. And that's one of the things, right?
mhm.
It's that person inside. You got to love her.
And
Let her
yeah.
out.
Perfect. And we're gonna end on that.
Right.
And I just really can't even thank you enough for sharing all that you shared today. And I know it is going to help so many people on so many levels.
You too. I'm
And
so honored that you asked me. I have a little chill right now.
uh,
I knew we were,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
and thank you finally for this time together. And you're amazing. Your ability to listen to me and draw that out of me, and you in the survivor's chair yourself. So,
We're all in the survivor's chair in
yeah,
some way, shape, or form, I think. And I think that, I do believe there's just so much power to us sharing our story, not only to help others, but it releases the power it has over us. And so I mean, again, I can't thank you enough for sharing. And, I'm just so grateful that you have come out of all of that to who you are today, because you're just a beautiful, spectacular person. And I'm going to share where people can find you in the show notes. It's just been a great episode. And thank you for being here. And we'll see you next time in the Survivor's Chair. Thank you for tuning into the Survivor's Chair podcast. You can head over to my website, www.kimrussellpro.com. That's KIMRUSSELLPRO.com. You can catch up on my blogs. Follow me on social, on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or TikTok. All the links will be in the show notes, and I'll see you next time in the Survivor's Chair.